My name is Kendra, and I'm 35 years old. There I was, propped up in that cold hospital bed in Columbus, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees, my veins throbbing from the IV drip pumping steroids that felt like liquid fire. It was past midnight, and the only company I had was the steady beep of the monitor tracking my erratic heart rate during this brutal lupus flare. My joints screamed with every tiny shift, and fatigue weighed me down like a wet blanket. That's when my phone lit up on the bedside table, a text from Mom. "We need to talk now." Below it, a cascade of 22 missed calls from her, Dad, my brother Derek, and even my little sister Lila. But not one of them had bothered to show up here, where I needed them most. No, they were all off at Lila's fancy baby shower at the country club, toasting to her perfect life with balloons and cake, while I lay here fighting a body that had turned against me. The pain wasn't just physical. It was that gut-wrenching realization that the people who were supposed to have my back had chosen party favors over me. Again. It hit me like a ton of bricks, stirring up those old ghosts from childhood. Even back then, in our suburban Ohio home, I was always the afterthought. Lila, the baby of the family, got the spotlight every time. Her dance recitals trumped my soccer games. Her birthday parties were blowouts while mine were quiet dinners. I'd push it down, tell myself it was just how things were. But now, staring at that phone screen, the abandonment felt like a lifetime in the making. How could they prioritize her miracle pregnancy over my crisis? If you're watching this and feeling that twist in your stomach, what would you do if your own family left you hanging like this? Drop a comment with your take and subscribe for the next chapter. And before we get back to the story, would you be kind enough to give this video a like? You know, every single like means a lot to me. It's the kind of encouragement that keeps me creating and bringing you even better stories tomorrow. It all goes back to how I met Alex, the one person who made me feel seen in a world that often looked right through me. We were both juniors at Ohio State, buried in the Thompson Library during a brutal finals week. I was hunkered down at a corner table, my accounting notes sprawled out like a war zone, highlighter in one hand and a lukewarm latte in the other. The place was packed with stressed-out students. My buddy Sarah from econ class was across the aisle, cramming with her flashcards, and our mutual friend Jake was dozing over his bio textbook nearby. That's when Alex came barreling around the corner, backpack slung over one shoulder, and clipped my elbow just hard enough to send my latte tumbling. Hot coffee splashed across my laptop keyboard, and I jumped up with a gasp, watching in horror as it seeped into the keys.
"Oh, crap. I'm so sorry,"
he blurted, his face turning red as he dropped to his knees, grabbing napkins from a nearby dispenser. He wasn't the type to mutter an apology and bolt. He stayed, dabbing at the mess with frantic energy, muttering about how he was always such a klutz under pressure. I couldn't help but laugh through my frustration. His earnestness was kind of charming.
"Let me make it up to you,"
he insisted, standing up and brushing off his jeans.
"Coffee on me, at the Union Cafe. Deal?"
Sarah caught my eye from her spot, giving me a thumbs up with a grin, like she could already see where this was headed. Jake stirred awake long enough to chuckle and say,
"Go for it, Kendra. Free caffeine's the best kind."
That quick coffee run stretched into an hour of easy chatter. Alex was studying environmental science, all fired up about renewable energy and saving the planet one solar panel at a time. He grew up in Cleveland, rooting for the Browns through thick and thin, and he had this way of listening, like really listening, that made me open up about my own dreams of crunching numbers in a big firm someday. We swapped stories about Buckeyes games we'd tailgated and the ridiculous dorm pranks we'd pulled. By the end, he was walking me back to my apartment, promising to text about a hike at Hocking Hills that weekend. It felt like the start of something real, a breath of fresh air in my otherwise predictable life. But even then, as our dates turned into something steady, I couldn't shake the nagging doubt about how my family would react.
Why did they always seem to have a problem with the things that made me happy? As Alex and I got serious, the warmth of those early days at Ohio State, coffee runs, hikes, and late-night study sessions, started to feel like a shield against the storm I knew was coming from my family. I'd seen how they operated my whole life. Lila, my baby sister, could do no wrong, while I was always the one who needed to step it up. But nothing could have prepared me for how hard they'd come down on Alex, or how it'd test everything I thought I knew about loyalty. It started small, like it always does with them. We were at my parents' McMansion in the Columbus suburbs for Sunday brunch, the kind where Mom sets out the good china just to flex. Alex was nervous, fidgeting with the collar of his button-down, but he brought a bouquet of daisies, picked them himself from a roadside stand, because he knew Mom loved flowers. I thought it'd score him points. Instead, Mom barely glanced at them, setting them on the counter like they were junk mail. Over mimosas, she leaned across the table, her smile tight as a drum. "So, Alex, what's your plan? Environmental science sounds noble, but how's it going to keep a roof over Kendra's head?" Her tone dripped with that Midwestern passive-aggressive charm, the kind that cuts deeper than a straight insult. I felt my face heat up, gripping my fork like a lifeline. "He's got a job lined up, Mom. Top of his class." Alex squeezed my knee under the table, his calm way of saying, "I got this." "I'm starting at a solar firm in Dayton after graduation," he said, voice steady. "It's solid, good benefits, and I love the work." Dad, nursing his coffee, snorted. "Solar? Hope you've got a backup when that green stuff tanks. Kendra deserves stability, not some tree-hugger dream." I wanted to scream, but I bit my tongue, like I'd done 1,000 times growing up when Lila's art projects got framed while my report cards got a nod. That night, back at my apartment, I vented to Megan, my best friend since we were kids, trading Pokemon cards in the schoolyard. She was sprawled on my couch, scrolling her phone, half listening. "They're just looking out for you," she said, not looking up. "Lila's dating that finance bro now, right? They probably want you with someone like that." I froze, the air sucked out of the room. "Megan, Alex is the real deal. Smart, kind, gets me. Why's that not enough?" She shrugged, eyes still on her screen. "Just saying, your folks have high standards. Lila's guy's got a condo downtown." It was the first time I felt that shift in her, like she was picking sides, and it wasn't mine. The real blow came a few months later, when Alex and I got engaged. We'd been hiking at Hocking Hills, the fall leaves crunching under our boots, when he pulled out a simple gold ring. Nothing flashy, just like us. I said yes before he even finished asking, tears mixing with laughter. But when I called Mom to share the news, her voice went flat. "Engaged? Already? Kendra, you're young. There's a guy at Dad's firm, partner's son, Ivy League. I could set you up." My stomach twisted. "Mom, I love Alex. He's my choice." A long pause. "We just want what's best. His family's, well, they're not like us. Code for, his dad's a factory worker, his mom's a teacher, no trust fund or country club membership in sight." I pushed back, heart pounding. "He's brilliant, Mom. He's got a full ride for grad school if he wants it. He's good to me." She sighed, that exasperated sound she saved for when I disappointed her. "Kendra, love doesn't pay the bills. You'll see." I hung up, shaking, and Alex pulled me into his arms, promising we'd prove them wrong. But that fight stuck with me like a splinter under my skin. Why did I have to justify the man I loved? Why was Lila's boyfriend, with his flashy car and corner office, automatically better? We planned a small wedding, our way. Backyard at Alex's parents' place in Cleveland, string lights and a potluck spread. We saved every penny from my accounting gigs and his summer internship to cover it ourselves. No way were we taking Mom and Dad's money. Their help always came with strings thicker than rope. I asked Megan to be my maid of honor, hoping she'd be the bridge between me and my family's nonsense. She said yes, all smiles. But I caught her texting Lila during the planning, giggling about something I wasn't privy to. The wedding day was perfect. Sunny, a light breeze, Alex looking sharp in a rented suit, his eyes crinkling when he saw me in my thrift store dress, altered to fit like a glove. His parents hugged me like I was already theirs, his mom whispering, "You're family now, Kendra." My side? They showed up, but it was like they were at a funeral, not a celebration. Mom kept rearranging the dessert table, muttering about how rustic it all was. Dad spent half the reception on his phone, probably checking stock prices. Derek, my brother, gave a half-hearted toast that felt more like a lecture about taking risks. Lila, barely 19, flitted around in a designer dress, snapping selfies with her friends and barely speaking to Alex's cousins. Megan tried to play peacemaker, shuttling between tables, but I noticed she lingered longer with Lila, laughing at her jokes, leaving me to handle Mom's snide comments alone. At one point, Dad pulled me aside, his whiskey breath heavy. "We told your uncle we'd chip in for the venue, but we're stretched thin with Lila's college fund. You understand, right?" I stared at him, the promise they'd made months ago, to help with the catering, evaporating like it never existed. "Sure, Dad," I said, voice tight, knowing Lila's fund was code for her new car. Alex overheard, his jaw clenching, but he just squeezed my hand and said, "We got this, babe." And we did. Our friends rallied, bringing extra dishes, making it a night to remember. But as I danced with Alex under those twinkling lights, I couldn't shake the feeling that my family's disapproval was just the tip of the iceberg. What would happen when we faced something bigger than a wedding? After our wedding, Alex and I settled into our little slice of the American dream in a cozy ranch house on the outskirts of Columbus. The place wasn't much. A one-story fixer-upper with creaky floors and a yard barely big enough for a barbecue, but it was ours. We'd come home from work, me crunching numbers as an accountant downtown, him designing wind farm layouts at his solar firm, and collapse onto our second-hand couch with takeout pizza, laughing about whose turn it was to do the dishes. Weekends were for adventure, road trips to Lake Erie, tailgating at Buckeyes games, or just tinkering with our dream board, a corkboard in the kitchen pinned with ideas for the future. A couple of kids someday, a dog named Buckeye, maybe a bigger place with a garden. It was the kind of life that felt full, not because it was flashy, but because it was ours, built from scratch. But every time we stepped into my parents' world, that happiness got chipped away. It was like walking into a lion's den with a target on your back. Thanksgiving at their sprawling house in Dublin was the worst yet. The dining room table groaned under Mom's spread. Turkey, stuffing, her famous pecan pie. But the air was thick with judgment. I'd just landed a promotion at my firm, a senior accountant role that came with a nice bump in pay. I was proud, ready to share the news, but before I could, Mom launched into Lila's latest triumph. "Lila's internship at that marketing agency? They're already talking about a full-time offer," she gushed, passing the mashed potatoes. Lila, all of 22, smirked from across the table, her new designer scarf practically screaming her boyfriend's bank account. "It's no big deal," she said, but her eyes said otherwise. I took a deep breath, ready to pivot. "That's awesome, Lila. Hey, I got some news too. I'm senior accountant now, leading my own team." Mom's smile flickered, like a light bulb about to burn out. "Oh, that's nice, Kendra. That's nice. Safe choice. Sticking with the numbers." Dad didn't even look up from his plate, just mumbled, "Good for you." Meanwhile, Derek, my brother, jumped in about his latest real estate flip, some condo in Short North he'd sold for a killing. Dad clapped him on the shoulder, all proud. "That's my boy, playing the long game." I felt Alex's hand find mine under the table, his thumb tracing circles, steadying me like always. But inside, I was seething. Why was my hard-earned promotion just nice while Lila's internship and Derek's side hustle were treated like Nobel Prize wins. It took me back to being 12, watching Mom frame Lila's finger paintings while my straight-A report cards got tossed in a drawer. Later, as we cleared plates, I overheard Mom whispering to Aunt Carol in the kitchen. "Kendra's doing fine, but she could have aimed higher than Alex. He's sweet, but no connections, no real money." My stomach twisted, the same old wound reopening. I'd spent my whole life proving myself to them, only to be measured against Lila's charmed life or Derek's big swings. Alex caught my eye from the living room, where he was stuck listening to Dad's golf stories, and mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded, but the truth was, I wasn't. That night, driving home, I vented to Alex. "It's like I'm invisible unless I'm failing. Why can't they just be happy for us?" He squeezed my hand. "We don't need their approval, babe. We're building something real." The rift grew uglier at a family vacation in Hilton Head the next summer. Mom had rented a beach house, all white wicker and ocean views, and insisted we join to bond. I should have known better. From the moment we arrived, it was the Lila show. She'd just started dating her new boyfriend, a finance hotshot named Brandon, and Mom couldn't stop raving about his family's lake house or his corner office. "He's going places," Dad said, sipping a beer on the porch. Meanwhile, Alex and I were relegated to the pull-out couch in the den, while Lila and Brandon got the guest suite. At dinner, Mom grilled us about our little house, and when we'd upgrade. "You're not getting any younger, Kendra," she said, cutting her steak. "Kids need space, and Alex's job, well, it's not exactly rolling in dough." I snapped back. "We're happy, Mom. Not everyone needs a mansion." Lila snickered, and Derek changed the subject to his new investment property. The worst part? They'd planned a whole-day trip to Savannah, historic tours, fancy lunch, without inviting us. "Oh, we thought you'd want to stay back and relax," Mom said when I found out, her voice dripping with fake concern. Alex and I ended up walking the beach alone, picking up shells, trying to laugh it off. But it stung, like I was a kid again, left out of Lila's birthday parties because I wasn't fun enough. I called Megan that night, hoping for a lifeline. She'd always been my sounding board, the one who got how my family worked. "That's rough," she said, but her tone was off, distracted. "Lila's just, she's the shiny new toy right now. They'll come around." Then she added, "Hey, I'm meeting her for coffee tomorrow to talk about Brandon's proposal plans. She's so excited." I hung up, my chest tight. Megan was supposed to be my ride or die, but she was slipping away, charmed by Lila's orbit. At work, though, I had a different kind of family forming. My coworker Jenna, a fellow accountant with a sharp wit and a knack for cutting through BS, noticed I was off. Over lunch at a deli near the office, I spilled about the vacation snub. "Your folks sound like they're playing favorites on steroids," she said, dipping a fry in ketchup. "You and Alex are killing it. Own that. They don't get to define your worth." Her words stuck with me, a small spark of validation I hadn't realized I needed. Megan's shift became clearer at a barbecue at our place a few months later. We'd invited everyone, family, friends, even Lila's new fiancé, Brandon. Alex was manning the grill, flipping burgers, while I set out homemade lemonade. Megan showed up late, arm in arm with Lila, both of them giggling like teenagers. I tried to pull Megan aside to catch up, but she kept drifting back to Lila, praising her engagement ring, gushing about the wedding plans. When I mentioned our dream board, our plans for a kid, a dog, she nodded absently. "That's cute," she said, then turned to Lila. "Tell Kendra about the venue you booked." Later, as we cleaned up, she caught me alone in the kitchen. "You're doing great, Kendra," she said, almost like an afterthought. "But Lila's on this whole other level, She's got that spark." I forced a smile, but her words cut deep. Was she defending me, or just echoing my family's script? That fall, I started noticing small things. Aches in my joints, a fatigue that coffee couldn't fix. At first, I brushed it off as stress. Work was intense, and the family drama wasn't helping. But one morning, as I fumbled with my coffee mug, my fingers stiff and swollen, I knew something was wrong. Alex noticed too, his brow furrowing as he watched me wince. "You're not yourself, babe," he said, setting down his laptop. "Let's get you checked out." As we booked a doctor's appointment, I couldn't shake the dread creeping in. What if this was something serious? And worse, would my family even care? The dread lingered like a shadow as Alex and I drove to the doctor's office that crisp October morning, leaves swirling in the wind outside our Subaru. My fingers ached around the steering wheel, a dull throb that had started as occasional stiffness but now felt like rusty hinges refusing to bend. "It's probably just arthritis or something from all those late nights at the desk," I told myself, trying to laugh it off as we pulled into the parking lot of the Cleveland Clinic outpost in Columbus. Alex shot me a worried glance, his hand warm on my knee. "Whatever it is, we'll handle it," he said, always the optimist. The waiting room was sterile, filled with the low hum of fluorescent lights and the rustle of outdated magazines. Dr. Harlan, a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense bob, called us back after what felt like hours. She poked and prodded, asking about my symptoms, the persistent fatigue that dragged me down like I'd run a marathon in my sleep, the random rashes blooming on my arms like unwelcome freckles, the joint pain that flared up without warning. Blood work followed, needles pricking my veins, and then the wait for results. A week later, back in her office, she delivered the blow. "Kendra, the tests show elevated anti-nuclear antibodies and other markers consistent with systemic lupus erythematosus," she said, her voice steady but kind. "It's an autoimmune disease. Your immune system is attacking healthy tissue. We caught it early, but it's chronic. Flares can be unpredictable." I sat there, numb, as she explained the basics. Potential organ involvement, the need for meds like hydroxychloroquine to tamp down the inflammation, lifestyle changes to manage stress. "We'll monitor closely," she added, handing me pamphlets. "Get a second opinion if you want. Rheumatology specialists can confirm." Alex gripped my hand, asking smart questions about side effects and long-term outlook, while I stared at the floor, my mind racing. Autoimmune? It sounded like science fiction, my body turning traitor. How had a few aches snowballed into this? We scheduled that second consult right away, driving to a specialist in downtown Columbus 2 days later. Dr. Patel, a soft-spoken guy with a gentle demeanor, reviewed the labs and ran more tests. Another round of blood draws, a skin biopsy that left a stinging spot on my arm. "Yes, it's lupus," he confirmed, leaning forward in his chair. "The butterfly rash on your cheeks, the photosensitivity you've mentioned, these are classic. Start the meds now to prevent worse flares. And Kendra, stress exacerbates it. Surround yourself with support." His advice hit hard. I nodded, but inside, I wondered who that support would come from. Alex was already researching diets and supplements on his phone in the waiting room. But my family? The thought twisted my gut. That evening, back home with a prescription bottle rattling in my purse, I called Mom first. My voice cracked as I spilled it all. The diagnosis, the uncertainty, the fear of what a flare might mean. "Lupus? Oh, honey, that sounds dramatic," she said, her tone light, like I was complaining about a bad haircut. "Are you sure? Doctors love to slap labels on everything." I swallowed hard. "Mom, 2 specialists confirmed it. It's real. My body's attacking itself." A beat of silence, then, "Well, stay positive. These things work themselves out. Oh, before I forget, Lila called earlier. She's pregnant. Can you believe it? Our first grandbaby." The shift was like whiplash. Suddenly, she was gushing about due dates and nursery themes, my news buried under Lila's joy. I hung up, tears stinging, whispering to Alex, "Why couldn't she just hear me?" Dad was next, over speakerphone as Alex rubbed my back. "Tough break, kiddo," he grunted. "But you're tough. You'll beat it. Hey, did Mom tell you about Lila? We're throwing her a shower at the club. No questions about symptoms, no offers to help. Derek texted back later. Sorry to hear. Hang in there. That was it. The indifference clawed at me. Why was my crisis always second fiddle? Growing up, when I'd sprain an ankle at soccer, they'd fuss over Lila's scraped knee instead. Was I that invisible? Megan was the one I hoped would get it. We'd been thick as thieves since elementary school, sharing secrets over sleepovers. I texted her the details, and she called right away, voice thick with concern. Oh my God, Kendra, that's awful. I'm coming over with soup tomorrow. Tell me what you need. We talked for an hour. She cried with me, promised to research support groups. It felt genuine, a lifeline in the storm. But as days turned to weeks, her texts slowed. Work's slamming me, she'd say, canceling our lunch. But I'm here for you. One evening, she posted a selfie with Lila at a baby boutique, captioning it, Auntie Duties. I stared at my phone, the ache in my chest sharper than my joints. Had she forgotten already? Dr. Harlan had warned me symptoms could ramp up before meds kicked in. At first, it was mild, morning stiffness easing by noon. But soon, the fatigue hit like a freight train, leaving me napping through lunch breaks. Jenna at work noticed, covering for me on calls. You look wiped, she'd say, sliding me a coffee. Then came the rashes, red and itchy under my sleeves, forcing long shirts even in warm weather. One night, cooking dinner, my knees buckled from the pain, sending a pot clattering. Alex caught me, eyes wide. This is getting worse, he said, insisting on another checkup. Mom had promised during a quick call. We'll swing by soon with groceries. Hang tight. But days passed. No visit. Instead, a text. Busy with Lila's appointments. Morning sickness is rough. The reversal stung. Their help was just words. As the pain escalated, crawling up my back like fire ants, I collapsed into bed after work, wondering if this was my first real flare. Alex held me, whispering we'd fight it together, but the isolation gnawed deeper. If things got bad, who else would show up? Giai đoạn duy nhất cần viết lên này. Phase id P5 cụ thể, phase id P5 title. Fighting the disease and family distance. Word count range. Min, 1,000. Max, 100. Focus. Quá trình chiến đấu với bệnh, sự hỗ trợ từ Alex và gia đình anh, sự xa cách từ gia đình Kendra. Content. Mô tả điều trị, tác dụng phụ. Kendra nghỉ việc chăm sóc bản thân. Gia đình thờ ơ, thăm ngắn gọn. Megan hứa nhưng thật hứa. Sự hỗ trợ từ gia đình Alex và bạn bè. Upgrade strategies. Notice. Các chiến lược là gợi ý, chỉ dùng khi giúp tăng hấp dẫn, pacing. Items. Psychological warfare. Xây dựng nhiều tầng đấu tranh nội tâm, Kendra về lòng trung thành gia đình. Subplot. Tình tiết phụ về nhóm hỗ trợ Lupus Kendra tham gia sớm. Additional characters, thêm Sarah từ nhóm hỗ trợ như bạn mới. Escalation loop, vòng leo thang flare bệnh và sự bỏ qua từ gia đình. Plot reversal, twist, khi Megan đến nhưng chỉ để bào chữa. Cliffhanger, kết thúc bằng thông báo tiệc baby shower. T policy, required, false, when required. Phase 1, start CTA, like, comment, subscribe. Final phase, end CTA, like, comment, share, subscribe, plus watch next. Examples, start CTA. If this hits home, tap like and subscribe. There's more you won't see coming. Drop a comment with your take and subscribe for the next chapter. End CTA. If this moved you, like, comment, and share, then subscribe and watch the next story on our channel. Hit like, drop your thoughts below, share this with a friend, and subscribe for the next episode. Estimated time. Minutes, range. Min, 6. Max,
purpose. Tăng cường sự tương phản hỗ trợ, leo thang cảm xúc bị bỏ rơi.
Refinements, kết nối với nội dung cuối của giai đoạn 4 đã viết, đảm bảo chuyển cảnh tự nhiên. Mom's voice note about Lila's baby shower looped in my head like a bad song, each replay tightening the knot in my chest. I was sprawled on the couch, a heating pad pressed against my lower back, the latest lupus flare still gnawing at my joints like a dog with a bone. Alex was in the kitchen, blending one of those anti-inflammatory smoothies Sarah from the support group swore by. The blender's hum a faint distraction from the dread. Lila's shower, country club, champagne toasts, the whole 9 yards, was 3 weeks away. And Mom's chipper tone, "You're coming, right? She wants you as godmother," felt like a slap. Godmother? While I could barely lift a coffee mug without wincing, the contrast was brutal. My family planning a blowout for Lila's miracle baby while I was fighting to get through the day. I stared at the group chat. My last update. Flare's rough. Could use some company. Still sitting on red. The silence screamed louder than any reply. I tapped out a new message, fingers trembling. Mom, the flare's getting worse. Docs say rest is critical. Not sure I can make the shower. I hit send, hoping for a shred of understanding. Mom's reply came fast, a video call popping up on my phone. I answered, propping the phone against a pillow, my face puffy from steroids catching the dim light. "Kendra, honey," she started, her voice all syrupy concern. "You sound stressed. You sure it's not just a bad week?" I bit my lip, the old reflex to downplay kicking in, but pushed back. "It's lupus, Mom. I'm on heavy meds, barely sleeping. I need you guys right now." Her face softened for a split second, then shifted. "Oh, sweetie, we're swamped with Lila's shower. It's her first baby. You know how special that is. You'll bounce back." The words landed like a punch. "Bounce back?" I snapped, voice cracking. "I'm not skipping a workout, Mom. This could mess me up long term." She sighed, adjusting her earrings, a telltale sign she was done listening. "Kendra, don't make it about you. Lila's counting on us. Maybe Alex can handle things for a bit?" I hung up, tears burning, the fight draining what little energy I had. Alex slid onto the couch, handing me the smoothie. "They're not worth it," he said softly, but I wasn't ready to hear it. Part of me still clung to the hope they'd show up, like they did for Lila's every whim, her graduation, her engagement. Now this baby. Why was I always the one left begging for scraps? The medical bills were piling up faster than we could manage. Insurance covered some, but copays and uncovered meds ate through our savings like wildfire. I swallowed my pride and called Dad, hoping he'd step up where Mom wouldn't. "Hey, kid," he answered, his voice muffled like he was in a meeting. "What's up?" I laid it out. Hospital visits, the cost of steroids, how I'd had to cut work hours. "We're stretched thin," I admitted. "Could you help with a few bills?" A long pause, then, "Rough spot, huh? Look, we're pouring a lot into Lila's shower, venue, catering, the works. Maybe next month?" My heart sank. "Dad, I'm drowning here." He cleared his throat. "I'll talk to your mom. See what we can do." That was it. Another empty promise. A week later, no check, no follow-up, just a text from him. "Lila's registry is set. Pricey stuff. We'll catch up soon." Desperate, I turned to Alex's old college buddy, Tom, who'd started a small construction business. We'd stayed close, grabbing beers at OSU games, and he'd always called us the real deal. I texted him, explaining the bills, hating every word. He didn't hesitate, offering to cover a month's meds and even swinging by with his wife to drop off a lasagna. "You're not alone in this," he said, clapping Alex on the shoulder. His help, and the meal train Jenna kept running at work, felt like lifelines. Small, but solid, unlike the ghosting from my own blood. Sarah from the Lupus group kept me grounded too. During a Zoom call, I vented about Mom's call. "They're choosing a party over you," she said, her voice sharp but kind. "That's not love, Kendra. It's neglect." She shared her own story, how her sister bailed during her first flare for a better family event. "You'll find your people," she promised, and I clung to that, but the hurt lingered. Was I wrong to keep reaching out, to hope for a family that didn't exist? The flares kept coming, each one worse. Mornings started with me shuffling to the bathroom, joints so stiff I leaned on walls for support. The rashes spread, angry red patches crawling up my neck, forcing me into turtlenecks despite the Ohio heat. Alex tracked every symptom in an app, his face tight with worry while I fought the urge to scream at the unfairness. I texted Megan one last time, a plea. "Flares are bad. Can you visit? Need my best friend." Her reply was quick. "So sorry, helping Lila plan the shower. I'll come after. Promise." The after never came, just more Instagram stories of her and Lila picking out baby booties. The night before Lila's shower, the worst flare yet hit. My fever spiked to 102. My vision blurred, and my knees buckled as I tried to stand. Alex rushed me to the ER, his hands steady on the wheel but his voice shaking as he called Dr. Harlan. "We're not losing you," he said, more to himself than me. As they hooked me up to an IV, the pain blurring into a haze, I wondered if my family even remembered I was fighting for my life. Would they show up now? Or was Lila's party still the only thing that mattered? The ER lights blurred into a harsh white haze as Alex sped through red lights, his knuckles white on the wheel. My body was a battlefield, fever raging like wildfire. Every breath a rasp against inflamed lungs, joints locked in agony that shot through me like electric shocks. "Hang on, Kendra," he kept saying, his voice cracking as he glanced at me curled in the passenger seat, sweat soaking my shirt. By the time we burst through the doors, nurses swarming with questions, I could barely whisper my name. They wheeled me back, hooking up monitors that beeped erratically, IV lines snaking into my arms with fluids and pain meds that dulled the edges but couldn't touch the core fire. Dr. Harlan arrived within the hour, her face tight as she reviewed my chart. "This flare's escalated fast," she said, pulling up a stool. "Kidney involvement's a risk now. Lupus nephritis. We're admitting you for observation, aggressive treatment." Her words hung heavy. She paused, eyes kind but direct. "If it doesn't turn around, we might shift to palliative focus, keeping you comfortable over curative pushes." Comfortable? The word echoed like a death knell, stirring a panic I hadn't voiced yet. Alex nodded, asking about options, but I lay there, staring at the ceiling tiles, wondering if this was the beginning of the end. Hours blurred into a fever dream, the hospital room, a sterile cage of beeps and antiseptic smells. I drifted in and out, flashes of nurses adjusting drips, Alex dozing in the vinyl chair beside me, his hand never leaving mine. In the quiet moments, my mind wandered to a recurring dream I'd had since childhood, a perfect family picnic under Ohio oaks, everyone laughing, no favorites, just equal love. Mom passing me the potato salad first, Dad ruffling my hair with pride, Lila sharing her toys without a fight. But reality crashed in. Why chase that illusion? The betrayal layered on. First the childhood slights, then the wedding snubs, now this indifference when I needed them most. Was loyalty a one-way street, or had I been fooling myself all along? I grabbed my phone during a lucid spell, fingers clumsy on the screen, and fired off desperate updates. To the family group. "In ER, flares bad, possible kidney issues. Please come." Mom's reply pinged almost immediately. "Oh no, sending prayers. Lila's shower prep is chaos. Guests arriving soon. We'll check in later.
Later?
I called her, voice weak. Mom, it's serious. I need you here. Her sigh crackled through the line. Kendra, the caterer's due any minute. Lila's so excited, you understand, right?
I didn't.
Understand? I'm in the hospital. Escalation hit, she promised. We'll swing by after setup. But hours passed, no show. Dad texted, busy helping Derek with invites. Hang tough.
Derek? The loop tightened. I messaged him directly. Brother, please visit. Scared.
His response? Shower stuff's nonstop. I'll try tomorrow. Tomorrow became another plea ignored, the rejections piling like bricks on my chest. Megan was my last hope, the friend who'd once stayed up all night with me through breakups. I texted, ER now, flare peaking, come? Her reply buzzed. OMG, on my way after helping Lila with decorations, promise. The reversal stung. I waited, watching the clock tick past visiting hours, but no Megan. Instead, her Instagram story popped up, her and Lila laughing over balloon arches, captioned Shower Squad. The betrayal cut deeper than the IV needle. How could she promise and bail, choosing glitter over me? Through it all, Alex was my rock, fielding calls from his parents who drove down overnight, his mom bringing fresh pajamas and his dad pacing the hall with coffee runs. We're here, his mom whispered, stroking my hair. Let us carry this.
Sarah from the group FaceTimed, her voice a steady anchor. Breathe through it, 1 hour at a time. Even Tom, Alex's buddy, swung by with magazines and bad puns that coaxed a weak laugh. Their presence highlighted the void, my family's absence a gaping wound. As the shower weekend dragged on, monitors stabilizing me enough for discharge papers, my phone lit up with post-party texts. Mom. Shower was magical. Lila glowed. Hope you're feeling better. Dad. Great turnout. Thinking of you. Lila. A heart emoji. Megan. Exhausted from fun? Visiting soon? No apologies, no concern. Just echoes of their priorities. I set the phone down, tears silent, as Alex helped me into a wheelchair for home. But that night, curled in bed, a new message from Jenna at work changed everything. Saw your family at the club brunch extension. Filmed this. You need to see. Attached, a video clip. What could it possibly show? Jenna's message glowed on my phone screen like a warning flare in the dim bedroom light, the attached video thumbnail showing a blurry terrace setup under string lights. I was propped against pillows, the hospital discharge papers scattered on the nightstand, my body still humming with exhaustion from the flare's aftermath. Alex snored softly beside me, his arm draped protectively over my waist, but sleep evaded me. The meds wired my brain even as they dulled the pain. With a shaky thumb, I hit play, the audio crackling to life through my earbuds. There they were, my family at the country club's outdoor patio, an extension of Lila's shower that had apparently turned into a full-blown weekend bash. Laughter bubbled from the speakers, glasses clinking in toasts, balloons bobbing in the background like mocking spectators. The camera, shaky from Jenna's discreet angle at a nearby table. She'd been there for a work lunch. Zoomed in on Lila standing unsteadily, a champagne flute in hand, her belly just starting to show under a flowy dress. Thanks everyone for making this weekend epic, she slurred, beaming at the group. Especially with all the drama from Kendra's side. Snickers rippled through the crowd, Mom patting her arm, Dad nodding along like it was gospel. Seriously? Her illness timing is impeccable, right during my big moment? Like, get over it, sis. Marrying that eco-freak Alex was bad enough, now this attention grab? More laughter, louder now. Mom leaned in. She's always been the dramatic one. Derek chimed in. Yeah, probably just needs a vacation. And there was Megan, clinking her glass with Lila's, adding, Kendra's queen of exaggeration. Remember her big promotion that was basically a pat on the back?
The video cut off as Jenna whispered, "Thought you should know, should." I paused it, bile rising in my throat, the room spinning not from meds, but from the gut punch. Shock hit first, a cold wave crashing over me, freezing my breath. How could they mock me like this, turning my pain into party fodder? But as the initial numbness thawed, anger bubbled up, hot and unrelenting. I replayed it, each word a fresh cut, escalating from disbelief to fury. Loyalty? What loyalty? I'd spent years defending them, making excuses for their favoritism. But this was deliberate cruelty. My mind raced back to childhood slights. Lila's gifts versus my hand-me-downs, layering on the betrayal until it felt like a tower ready to topple. Was I really going to keep chasing their approval? Or was this the line in the sand? I couldn't stop there. Fingers flying, I dove into old texts and emails, a subplot unfolding in the glow of my screen. Scrolling back months, patterns jumped out. Updates I'd sent about symptoms ignored, while Lila's every craving got paragraphs. Then, a bombshell. 3 weeks before the shower date was set, I'd messaged Megan about my worsening flares, warning the docs predicted a peak soon. The next day, Lila announced the shower timing in the group chat. Coincidence? No way. She'd chosen that weekend knowing I might crash hardest, a calculated move to sideline me. The realization fueled the fire, shock morphing to calculated rage. I screenshot everything, compiling a digital dossier of dismissals, my hands steady now with purpose. By dawn, the anger had me dialing Richard, Susan's husband, from my support circle. Susan was a colleague who'd become a friend, and Richard was an estate lawyer. I'd met him at a group barbecue, his no BS advice on wills sticking with me.
"Kendra?"
He answered, voice groggy but alert.
"Everything okay?"
I spilled about the video, the patterns, then pivoted to the family trust docs Mom had emailed weeks back, vague about updates.
"Can you look them over?"
I asked, forwarding the files. He hummed as he skimmed.
"Smart move, calling. This amendment, it cuts you out, redirects to Lila and Derek. Need your signature to lock it in."
My blood boiled, disinheriting me while I fought for my life. But then the twist, buried in the fine print, a note about Dad's health contingencies. Richard dug deeper.
"Looks like your dad's got high blood pressure, maybe early heart issues. He's hidden it in the clauses for asset protection. Doesn't want it public."
The reversal hit like whiplash. Dad hiding his own illness while dismissing mine? Hypocrisy on steroids, escalating my fury to white hot. Loyalty shattered. This wasn't neglect, it was sabotage. I thanked Richard, promising coffee, and spent the morning gathering more evidence. Old voicemails of Mom praising Lila's strength while calling my achievements adequate. Photos of uneven Christmases. The loop closed, shock to anger to resolve. No more begging. A knock at the door jolted me from the screen. Through the peephole, Megan stood on the porch, flowers in hand, her face pale. The knock echoed through the quiet house like a thunderclap, pulling me from the whirlwind of screenshots and revelations on my laptop. Alex stirred in the kitchen, brewing tea, but I waved him off, peering through the peephole again. Megan stood there, shifting her weight. A bouquet of wilted daisies clutched in her hands like a peace offering. Her makeup smudged as if she'd been crying. My pulse raced, a mix of fury and exhaustion surging through me. The video's mockery still fresh. Dad's hidden health issues twisting the knife. I swung the door open just wide enough to block her entry, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "What are you doing here?" Megan's eyes widened, red-rimmed and pleading. "Kendra, oh God, I heard about the hospital. I'm so sorry. I came as soon as I could." She thrust the flowers forward, but I didn't take them. "As soon as you could? After ditching me for Lila's party? After laughing about my drama on video?" her face drained of color, the bouquet drooping. Video? What are you talking about? I pulled up my phone, hitting play on Jenna's clip, the audio filling the porch with Lila's slurred toast, Mom's whispers, and Megan's own words. Kendra's queen of exaggeration. She flinched with each line, her excuses tumbling out in layers. First denial. That's not what it looks like. Then deflection. We were just blowing off steam. Lila gets intense if you don't go along. I cut her off, the psychological warfare kicking in, probing deeper. Go along? You've been my best friend for 20 years, Megan. You knew I was in the ER fighting for air and you chose balloons over me. Why? She stammered, admitting, I got caught up in their world. Lila's fun, exciting, your stuff was heavy. No real regret, just justification, escalating my hurt to a boiling point. Heavy? My life is heavy because I'm sick, and you made it a joke. She broke down, sobbing. Please, don't throw us away. But I closed the door softly, the click final, whispering to myself, You already did. The confrontation with Megan was just the warm-up. The real storm brewed as I prepared for the family. That afternoon, fueled by a cocktail of steroids and simmering rage, I dove deeper into my digital archive, a subplot unfolding on my desk amid pill bottles and tissues. I printed old texts, Mom praising Lila's ambition while calling my promotion steady, photos of uneven birthdays where Lila got iPhones and I got socks, voicemails from Dad dismissing my college achievements as expected. Patterns emerged, a lifetime of favoritism stacked like evidence in a trial. Richard's email pinged back with more on the trust. Don't sign, it's a clean cutout. Your dad's health clauses? He's been managing hypertension for years, kept it quiet to avoid weakness. The twist gutted me. Dad, hiding his vulnerabilities while mocking mine? Hypocrisy layered on betrayal, pushing my resolve from anger to steel. By evening, the doorbell rang again. This time, the full squad. Mom, Dad, Lila, and even Derek, who'd apparently tagged along from his latest flip. They pushed in without waiting, Mom leading with a forced smile, carrying a bakery box like it could erase everything. Kendra, we've been worried sick, she said, setting it on the counter. Dad patted his briefcase. And we need to discuss the trust updates. Quick signature, family business. Lila plopped on the couch, rubbing her belly, while Derek leaned against the wall, checking his phone. I stood firm, blocking the living room. Worried? Where were you during my flare? The hospital? Mom waved it off. We had the shower. Life doesn't stop. The escalation began, excuses flowing. Dad, we sent thoughts. Lila. I was exhausted from pregnancy. Derek. Work's crazy. I pulled up the video on the TV, hitting play. Their faces shifted, confusion to shock to defensiveness, as Lila's mockery filled the room. Out of context, Mom sputtered. I layered on the dialogue, probing. Context? You called my illness drama while I was hooked to IVs. Dad admitted gruffly. We said some things in the heat, but no apology. Derek jumped in, escalating. Come on, Kendra, you've always been the sensitive one. Lila's baby is a big deal. Lila rolled her eyes. You're making this about you again. The reversal came from Mom, her voice cracking. Fine, we've always favored Lila. She's the baby, needed more. But that's life. You're strong, you don't need coddling. Justification without remorse. The twist confirming what I'd feared. Intentional bias, not accident. Rage peaked as I spread my compiled evidence across the table. Prints, timelines, the trust docs. This isn't favor. It's erasure. You've cut me out my whole life, and now literally with the inheritance. See? Arguments layered, them denying,
me countering with specifics, voices rising until I shouted, "Get out! All of you! No more family! No more excuses!" They filed out shell-shocked, Mom hissing, "You'll regret this!" Lila indignant, Derek muttering, "Overreacting as usual." As the door slammed, peace washed over me for the first time in weeks. I picked up my phone, dialing the therapist Sarah had recommended. "Hi, I'd like to schedule a session dealing with family trauma and chronic illness." What would she uncover next? The echo of the slammed door still rang in my ears as I sank onto the couch, my phone warm from the call to the therapist. Dr. Ellis, Sarah's recommendation, had a slot open next week, her calm voice promising a space to unpack the double whammy of lupus and family betrayal. My body felt like it had been through a meat grinder. Steroids still bloating my cheeks, joints creaking, but the confrontation had sparked something new. A strange, fragile freedom. Cutting ties with Mom, Dad, Lila, and Derek wasn't just closing a door. It was blowing up the whole damn house. But what now? The loss of family, even a toxic one, left a hollow ache, layered with the constant hum of my illness. I'd been fighting 2 wars, my body and my blood, and both had left scars. Could I really rebuild from here? Dr. Ellis's first session was raw, like peeling off a bandage stuck to a fresh wound. Over Zoom, her office a cozy blur of bookshelves and plants, she asked, "What does family mean to you, Kendra?" I fumbled, picturing those childhood dreams of picnics where I wasn't the odd one out. "It's supposed to be home," I said, voice cracking. "But mine was a battlefield." She nodded, guiding me to name the grief. Not just for the family I'd lost, but for the version I'd never had. Each session chipped away at the guilt I'd carried for demanding better, replacing it with a quiet resolve. Family wasn't blood, it was choice. Sarah from the Lupus group became my lifeline outside therapy. Our weekly Zoom calls turned into in-person meetups at a Columbus coffee shop, her no-nonsense warmth grounding me. "You're not just surviving, you're rewriting the rules," she said one afternoon, sipping a latte as we swapped flare-coping tips. She dragged me to the local Lupus chapter's meetups, a small group in a community center where strangers shared stories of pain and resilience. One guy, Mike, talked about pacing energy like budgeting cash. A woman named Lisa showed off her sun-protective gear like battle armor. Their grit was contagious, pulling me from despair towards something like hope, an escalation from darkness to a flicker of light. I leaned into what Sarah called one grown-up thing a day. Some days, it was simple, swallowing my meds without gagging on the metallic aftertaste. Others, it was bigger, like listing our ranch house for sale. The place held too many ghosts, family arguments, flare-filled nights, and the medical bills were a noose. Alex and I found a smaller apartment downtown, closer to my office and the hospital, with a balcony for morning sun that didn't burn my skin. Packing boxes, I found an old letter from Alex, tucked in a drawer from our engagement days. "Kendra, you're my home, no matter where we land," he'd written, his scrawl shaky from nerves. The twist hit hard. Here I was, questioning my worth, while he'd been all in from day one. I pressed the letter to my chest, tears falling, and taped it to our new fridge as a reminder. My real family was right here. Work became another anchor. Jenna pushed for me to return part-time, tweaking my schedule for lighter spreadsheets and fewer meetings. "You're a rock star," she'd text, sneaking me cookies in the break room. The team's meal train kept going, lasagnas and chili arriving weekly, a quiet show of solidarity. Alex's parents, Elaine and Frank, were a godsend, driving down every other weekend with casseroles and stories of their own hard times. "We lost a business once," Elaine confided over coffee, her hand warm on mine. "You rebuild, piece by piece." Frank, usually gruff, fixed our new place's squeaky door and slipped us gas money, calling it just because. They weren't just in-laws. They were my chosen family,
filling the void my own had left. The lupus flares didn't vanish, but they eased with routine, meds, yoga Sarah swore by, cutting out stress triggers like family texts I no longer answered. The psychological warfare shifted inward. I wasn't just fighting sickness, but the weight of years spent chasing approval. Each grown-up thing, a doctor's visit, a therapy session, a laugh with Sarah, built a new foundation, brick by brick, from desperation to a cautious hope. One evening, scrolling the Lupus Group's forum, I saw a post about volunteering at the hospital, reading to kids, helping patients navigate. "You'd be great," Sarah texted when I mentioned it. The idea sparked something, a way to give back, to turn my pain into purpose. I signed up, my first shift set for next week. As I filled out the form, my phone buzzed with a notification from the group, a new member sharing their diagnosis story. What would it feel like to walk into that hospital not as a patient, but as someone who could help? Stepping into the hospital as a volunteer felt like crossing into a new world, one where I wasn't just the patient clinging to IV drips. My first shift at Riverside Methodist in Columbus was a mix of nerves and adrenaline, the scent of antiseptic sharp but familiar as I pinned on my volunteer badge. The coordinator paired me with Gloria, a retired nurse with a gravelly laugh and a knack for calming jittery kids in the pediatric ward. She became my mentor in no time, guiding me through reading storybooks to wide-eyed 6-year-olds and fetching water for weary parents. "You've got a gift for this, Kendra," she said one afternoon, watching me coax a shy girl into giggling over the Gruffalo. "You listen, like you've been there." I had too many nights in rooms like these. Each shift chipped away at the helplessness I'd carried, turning my pain into something that could lift others. Gloria's steady presence, her stories of nursing through her own arthritis battles, felt like a roadmap for resilience. Back home, I poured that energy into a blog I'd started on a whim, nudged by Sarah from the Lupus Group. "Tell your story," she'd urged during a coffee shop meetup, her eyes bright with conviction. "It'll help someone, and you." I called it Flare and Fight, typing raw entries about living with lupus, the brutal flares, the mental toll, the family I'd lost to their own priorities. I wrote about cutting ties, the guilt and freedom tangled together, and the small wins, like mastering a yoga pose despite creaky joints. The post took off faster than I expected, comments flooding in from strangers who got it. People like Lisa from the group, who shared my blog in her own forums, calling it Real Talk for Warriors. A reader named Tara, a 30-something from Dayton, messaged me, "Your words got me through a flare last week. Keep going."
Her note, and others like it, built a virtual community, a patchwork family that filled the void my own had left. Each post was a step, escalating from isolation to connection, my fingers steadier on the keyboard with every entry. Alex was my cheerleader, reading drafts over my shoulder in our new downtown apartment, the balcony letting in soft morning light that didn't burn my skin.
"You're building something big here," he'd say, kissing my forehead.
His parents, Elaine and Frank, kept up their weekend visits, bringing pot roast and stories that grounded me. Jenna from work joined the blog's fanbase, texting, "Girl, your posts are fire! Keep spilling the tea!" Their support, alongside Gloria's mentorship and the Lupus Group's camaraderie, wove a safety net stronger than blood ties. But the psychological warfare lingered. Could I keep this up? Or would the disease, or my past, pull me under? Therapy with Dr. Ellis helped untangle that, her questions forcing me to face the loss of my family not as failure, but as self-preservation. Then came the email from Mom, 2 years after I'd kicked them out. I'd blocked their numbers, but her message slipped through a secondary account. "Kendra, your father's sick, heart failure, in and out of the hospital. He needs help with bills. Please call." My stomach twisted, the old loyalty tugging hard. Heart failure? Richard's words from the trust docs flashed back. Dad's hidden hypertension, a secret he'd buried while dismissing my lupus. The twist stung. He'd been fighting his own battle, yet never showed me that grace. I sat with it, the war inside raging. Help them after everything? Or protect the life I'd built? Dr. Ellis's voice echoed.
You don't owe them your peace.
I chose distance, mailing an anonymous check to Dad's hospital. No note, no contact. It was closure, not forgiveness. A line drawn in the sand. The blog kept me busy, but a rumor reached me through Lisa, who'd heard from a mutual friend. Megan and Lila had a blowout, something about Lila's controlling streak over the baby's name. Megan had stormed out, venting to others that Lila sucked the air out of everyone. I didn't dwell on it. My life was forward, not back. The escalation from cutting contact to this detached choice felt like growth, a quiet hope replacing the old desperation. That hope carried me to a hospital fundraiser, a low-key event Gloria had roped me into, all fairy lights and donation jars. I was chatting with a nurse about volunteer schedules when I turned and froze. Megan stood across the room, her eyes locking with mine, 2 years of silence hanging between us. What could she possibly want now? The fundraiser's fairy lights twinkled like stars against the hospital's glass atrium, the hum of chatter and clinking glasses filling the air. I stood frozen, gripping a plastic cup of sparkling water, as Megan's eyes met mine across the crowded room. 2 years had passed since I'd slammed the door on her apologies, her betrayal at Lila's shower still a raw scar. She looked different, hair shorter, face softer, like life had sanded down her edges. I braced myself, heart thumping, as she weaved through the crowd, stopping a few feet away. "Kendra," she said, voice low. "Can we talk?" I nodded, cautious, leading her to a quiet corner by a potted fern. "I'm in therapy now," she blurted, the twist catching me off guard. "After Lila and I fell out, I started unpacking stuff. How I let her pull me away from you. I was wrong, and I'm sorry." Her eyes glistened, but I kept my guard up, words measured. "I needed you, Megan. You chose her party over my hospital bed." She winced, nodding. "I know. I'm trying to be better, but I don't expect forgiveness." I exhaled, not ready to absolve but open to this fragile truce. "Maybe someday," I said, leaving it there, the air between us heavy but not hostile. Life had moved on, and I'd built something new, piece by piece. Alex and I had traded our downtown apartment for a small house on the edge of Columbus, a fixer-upper with a garden bursting with sunflowers and herbs, safe for my lupus skin under wide-brimmed hats. The backyard was our haven, where we'd sip coffee at dawn, Buckeye, our rescue mutt, chasing squirrels. Work had shifted too. I'd been promoted to team lead at the accounting firm. My part-time hours now a choice, not a necessity, thanks to meds and routines that tamed the flares. Jenna threw a low-key celebration at the office, sneaking in cupcakes with Boss Lady scrawled in icing. My new family wasn't blood. It was Sarah from the Lupus group who'd become my rock. Gloria from the hospital, whose tough love mentoring kept me grounded. And Alex's parents, Elaine and Frank, who hosted Sunday dinners that filled our home with laughter and pot roast. One of those dinners, under our patio lights, doubled as a milestone for my blog, Flare and Fight. Tara, my Dayton reader, drove up to join, along with Lisa from the Lupus group, turning it into a potluck of stories and support. Over grilled chicken and Sarah's famous cornbread, I shared how I'd started leading grief workshops at the community center. Small groups where I helped others navigate loss, not just of health, but of relationships, like I had. "You're turning pain into purpose," Tara said, raising her glass, and I felt Alex's hand squeeze mine under the table. His strength had been my backbone from that coffee spill in college to now, his quiet belief in me a constant when my family's wasn't. I'd catch myself rereading his old letter, "You're my home," taped to the fridge, a reminder that love wasn't owed, it was chosen.
The email from Mom about Dad's heart failure had been a test, one I'd passed by sending that anonymous check. No note, no reconciliation. Therapy with Dr. Ellis had taught me that family isn't a debt you pay forever. It's the people who show up, who choose you back. Alex, Elaine, Frank, Sarah, Gloria, Tara, they were my tribe. Proof I didn't need blood to feel whole. The grief of losing my family hadn't vanished, but it had softened, like a bruise fading under careful tending. As I left the fundraiser, Alex waiting by the car with Buckeye's leash in hand, I felt a quiet strength settle in. If this story moved you, my fight through lupus, betrayal, and rebuilding, hit like, drop your thoughts below, and share it with a friend. Then subscribe for the next chapter on our channel, because I'm not done yet. You don't have to fight alone. Choose your people and keep going.